Yeah, so you can say pretty much anything on a building site and it's acceptable. And obviously my skin will get me into conversations that most of you can't get into. They will drop their guard, especially if they don't know I'm a Muslim, necessarily look at me from a distance and think I'm a Muslim. So yeah, so I done then my first ever podcast was with Ira. No, yeah, it was with Ira. And I didn't know what podcast was, but I went in and spoke to the brother, and I was talking about giving dawah and everything else. And then I went on to building sites. I thought I'll give them a show, and what I'll do is I'll film the conversations like this. So I'm kind of talking, but the other person doesn't know that I'm filming, but they can only see up my nose. They can't really see the other person, but they can hear them. And people could then understand and sort of get a little grip of what it's like to give dawah to non-Muslims in that environment, okay? But it's different now. I mean, I'm going back 29 years, and that's been cracking on for more than 29 years. But the whole energy and the atmosphere has changed with a lot of the white non-Muslims. I'm not as sure about the black non-Muslims. I think they're still, they're still sort of got a little bit more, open-mindedness towards Islam. But the problem has changed, and it's shifted quite dramatically from white guys that didn't really care about your religion, as long as they had their job, go down a pub once at the weekend, have a takeaway with the missus, have a holiday once a year, life was okay. They didn't really need to be worried about people's religions and things like that. Now they're very worried. Now people that never spoke about Islam now, or even do anything about it, because a lot of them on building sites didn't even make the distinction or differentiate between Sikhs and Muslims and things like this. Now they're starting to quote what they think are hadith or what they think are verses of the Quran. They're starting to come out with this stuff because it's been fed to them by the likes of Tommy Robinson and the rest of them, okay? So as the Muslim community, I think for the most part, a lot of the youngsters I can take away from this category, but a lot of the Muslim community are living in denial of what's coming down the road, I believe. Living in bubbles. Now, when you're living in Whitechapel, Luton, areas of Luton, Birmingham, maybe, I don't know, even Hitchin, it's very easy to bury yourself in a community and bubble yourself off and not be seeing what's coming down the road, not feeling the actual energy that's coming and how things are changing. And things are changing very, very quickly. People that I've known for 20, 30 plus years are starting now on Facebook, or have been for a while, the last 3 or 4 years, to repost things from Tom Robinson and Katie Hopkins and I don't know, all the rest of them. They're reposting stuff they would never have posted before, knowing very well that they were anti-Islamic and for the most part, racist as well, okay? So a lot of especially the elders in the communities, the Muslim communities, living in bubbles. And I kind of get a lot of, but it's going to go away. We had this in the 70s. We had this in the 80s. We had the skinheads and the National Front and all the rest of it. And it went away then, and it will go away again, okay? The difference is, it's not going to go away. Them young lads there, they're just, if they can take the little chit chat to the other room or to the back, it'll be a lot less distracting. Because I don't talk over my own kids. I'm not going to talk over other people's, you know what I mean? That my kids, they'd have been booted out. All right. So where was I? So yeah, they keep saying like in the 70s and 80s, we had the National Front, we had the racist movement, we had the skinheads and everything else, and it dissipated, it went away. But this isn't the same. Back then, skinheads didn't really talk about religion. Well, never, because they didn't understand anything about it. But they just didn't like anyone. They didn't even like Irish people, and Irish people are more white than what they were for the most part. It was just about, we want our country to be white, and we don't like blacks, and we don't like Asians, and we don't like all this, and they had this type of movement. Now, the mentality is shifted very much into we don't really care about your color, but we care very much about your religion. And it's they don't care about Sikhs, they don't care about Hindus, they don't care about obviously Jewish people, they don't care about anyone else. The emphasis is very much on Islam. So the dial has shifted from racism to Islam. Now, not everybody that disagrees with Islam is racist, but all the racists have a problem with Islam. So it's a nice cover for them as well. They can hide behind being racist by just saying, well, I'm not racist, I just don't like Muslims, or I have an ideological issue with Islam and everything else, okay? So the dial has really shifted. And I think a lot of the Muslims, and especially the elders, are just ignoring this and thinking that it's all going to be all right and it's all going to go away. it's a very strong possibility that Nigel Farage could be a prime minister of this country. Allahu Alam, we don't know. Very strong possibility. It was only a handful of years ago he was fringe in politics. You know, he was some sort of out there campaigning to bring us out of Europe and everything else. No one actually took him as a serious politician. Now he Allah knows best, but he most likely will be a prime minister of this country. And if he does, many things are going to change. And if Rupert Lowe comes behind him, or someone like Rupert Lowe comes behind him, I will see mass deportations. You know, this is a projection. I don't know the future. Only Allah knows the future. But it's a very strong possibility. These things that they're saying now would never have been said 10 years ago, or 11, or 7 or 8 years ago. Who remembers, no one here is probably old enough to exactly remember, but who knows history about the Rivers of Blood speech from Enoch Powell? It's a brother back there. You were at college, didn't you? You were at college or uni? Right, so so the Rivers of Blood speech was made by a politician in the 60s called Enoch Powell. And basically this was, if you let the immigrants in, the blacks and the browns in, at some point they will have the upper hand on the white man, and there'll be basically civil unrest, as let's say, right? I don't want to say the other words, okay? So, is that for me? Oh, just like, what is it? It's a cup of tea. It's a very small cup of tea, isn't it? It's not like an English cup of tea, is it? It's like, like a Tom Thumb. Okay, so the Rivers of Blood speech at those days were considered extreme. Enoch Powell was considered a racist. This was a real big thing in the 60s, the Rivers of Blood speech. If you go onto X now, or Facebook, or any of the social media platforms, his speech seems like a nursery rhyme. It seems mild in comparison to what people are saying nowadays. It seems mellow. That's how far it's shifted over. You can literally say anything you want about this religion, and it's pretty much tolerated and accepted. The fact that they had this march, the Unite the Kingdom march, there's 2 of them. The fact that they had this march should raise alarm bells. That they was allowed to have it. Enoch Powell. Elon Musk, not the last one, but the one before the last one, he come onto the screen and he was going about, you're going to have to fight or die. War is coming to your country. I don't know if anyone remember him saying that. The richest, one of the richest men in the world, in this capital city of our country, telling people they're going to have to fight or die with Muslims. Is this a battle cry? This is calling people that there's going to be a war. If you keep telling people there's going to be a war, guess what? People get ready for war. Then they had the other one, the latest Unite the Kingdom talk, where they had people putting bacon on their shoulders and playing a cello. They had women dressing up in their version of niqabs and then pulling them off and getting undressed. Do you think they could have done that with any other religion? If they would have took away the title of Islam and put Judaism, do you think that them marches and talks would have been allowed to carry on? Impossible, yeah? And nor should they have been, by the way. I'm not saying because they're allowed to do it with us, they should be allowed to do it with else. The fact of the matter is that they're allowed to do it and they're comfortable doing it shows you the shift. Would never been able to do that in the early 2000s or the mid 2000s. Now it's fair game. So there's a real shift. What do you think has been a main player in that shift? Anyone know? Social media. Social media is a massive one. Before social media come along, if you wanted to be famous, you had to be good at something. You had to be educated. If you wanted to be a journalist, you had to go to journalist school, you had to get a job in a newspaper or something, and then you have to work your way up. If you wanted to be an actor, you had to get parts, go in an acting school, get parts in small bits and wait. Now you don't have to do anything. You just have to have a mobile phone and a social media platform, and you can be famous. And you can say anything you want to say. But the enemies of Islam use this very carefully and very, very wisely for their side of things. What they would do is push certain influencers, far-right influencers, Tommy Robinson being one, Danny Tomo being another one, I believe is being sort of groomed to take over from Tommy. I don't think Tommy's got long left in his career. And they position them to have the volume and amplification of their message. Muslim influencers are still arguing with each other, by the way. You know, we're still bickering about little bits and pieces. These guys, Elon Musk bought X. If Tommy Robinson wasn't on X, no one would really know him. He wouldn't have a platform. Because Elon Musk bought X and give it to him, and then he retweets what he says, millions of people see his messages and videos and things like that. And he's vile on it on a daily basis. But this is what social media has done, okay? So, although we know that Muslims are what? 6.7% now of the major of the population of the country. So that means at least 87% are white non-Muslims or white non-Muslims. So that's something like nearly 68 million. We're about 6.5 million. And we don't get along for the most part. You know, masjids don't talk to masjids, Muslims don't talk to Muslims. This issue, you know, where you hold your hands here, you hold hands, you know, have really small differences between us, and we major in the minors when it comes to these things. Okay, 90% of the white non-Muslims don't live where you live. They live in what they call like Middle England, satellite towns and villages. Millions and tens of millions of them live in these places. So they don't come into daily interaction with Muslims. You could live in Whitechapel and be fine. You don't, even if you don't speak English, you'll be fine. You know, as many people have lived there their whole life, women, older women are living, that's fine. But go outside of them areas and you'll find that you're a minority. But it's very easy to pretend or think that you're not. Tens of millions of white English Muslims don't live next door to you, and they don't have daily interactions with you. The way they view Islam is really being given to them, fed to them by the enemies of Islam, and not us. Tommy Robinson has written 3 books. Well, he says he has. He's probably signed 3 books at the end. But, sorry? Current ones, yeah? Colouring, yeah, probably, yeah. Even then he couldn't get between the lines of the little men. But the fact is that these people are taking their information about Islam and Muslims from these sources. What are we doing? Where are we when it comes to this sort of thing? Where's our organization? What are we doing to combat this, okay? So we know that they have an agenda, and the political agenda to push people like Tom. Tommy will never be in politics, and neither will Danny Tomo. In fact, by the way, I believe he's the old Bill anyway, bro. He's got the look about him, any. He's got that sort of policeman look. So the idea is to position them in social media so they can say the extreme stuff. They're like what I call an anchor, okay? And an anchor is something that you throw all the way over there to say the extreme stuff, and then you slowly pull yourself closer and closer to it. So now the Nigel Farages and the Rupert Lowe's and the ones with posh accents, the Tommy Robinsons with posh accents can say the less extreme stuff and it be acceptable. So it's not how far over the far right go. It's not how far over they go. It's how far over they can bring the middle. And if they can move the middle over and over, it's like an ice glacier. It moves very slowly, that you don't notice it moving, but you come back in a year and it's moved half a kilometer. And it's unstoppable. Okay, so it's not how far that they go as the extreme ones, it's how far they can bring the middle over. And the fact that they can have these marches, demonstrations, I don't know what you might call them, shows how far they've shifted it over. Nigel Farage possibly being the next prime minister shows how far they can move the middle to the right. Okay, the Labour government that we have now is more right than Margaret Thatcher's government, if you look at the policies. That's how far over it's gone, okay? So they fulfill an elite agenda, or the elite's agenda, to push the anti-Islamic narrative. Now you just got to wonder, whenever anything like this is being pushed, and they're going to use one of the battlefields they're going to use is social media. You just got to look at who benefits the most out of that. Who benefits the most out of people disliking Islam and Muslims? It's not difficult. I'm not even going to blame it all on one particular place in the Middle East, because even though they have their part, gambling, pornography, drinking, drugs, alcohol, all these are huge industries. Interest banking and loans, all these are huge industries. They're also going to have an issue. Even though they don't necessarily get along with each other, they will overlap when it comes to Islam. They will have overlapping interests when it comes to Islam. So they will also push. The Christians in America will, even though they will push the anti-Islamic narrative because they think Jesus is coming back, peace be upon him, into the Middle East, and part of that is getting rid of the Masjid al-Aqsa. So they have overlapping interests, even though they're not necessarily all on the same page. They do have a common ground, and the common ground is anti-Muslim, anti-Islam. And if you have an expansionist empire in the Middle East, you have to demonize the people that you're going to war with. to get public opinion or to get, geopolitical opinion on your favor around the world. So this is where I can see now a lot of the white people that are just fed up, tired, exhausted from earning the same money they've been earning for 20 years, bills going up, the type of things we've got. And it affects everyone else, by the way. I'm not just saying to make you feel sorry for them. But why do you think that it is? There's a particular demographic, because we have to get into some solutions once we've identified what's happening around us and why there's such an anti-Islamic sentiment.
I think, the thing, what they use, immigration, so then it becomes a different issue, because they say that like you were saying about the general white families and white working men.
Yeah.
Right? They beat on the push for immigration about this person's working, but they're coming in and they're not working. But then somehow then that immigration is then shifted onto, and this is why I believe they get that support, is that it becomes anti-Islam.
So what they do is they conflate many issues. So immigration is not a Muslim issue.
No.
It's not.
I think what they do, they flip it onto.
No. So not everyone that's coming in is Muslim, by the way. By far the biggest demographic of people that enter the country legally are Indian Hindus. By far, by the demographic, I think they're like 400,000 a year. The next one down to them is Nigeria. And most of them are from Christian part of Nigeria. The next one down to them is Chinese. And the next one down is Pakistani, Bangladeshi together. They're the fourth. So when you look at legal immigration, by far the biggest demographic coming over are not Muslim. But this doesn't bother Tommy. It does bother the ethno-nationalists. Does anyone know any ethno-nationalists? Any names of any ethno-nationalists? Because there's now a conflict between Tommy Robinson and his supporters and their likes and the ethno-nationalists, because they're the ones that are on the rise now.
What is an ethno-nationalist?
Someone that wants this country just to be white. They don't care about your religion.
That'd be Rupert Love.
No, because he's got an agenda he's more ethno than Tommy, but he's not pure ethno. Pure ethno would just say, right, how this country was in the 1950s is how we want it to be again. We don't mind a few of you here. I don't care what religion you are, by the way. In fact, they're very anti-Israel and anti-Zionist. The ethno-nationalists are very anti-Israel and anti-Zionist, but they just want this country to be white, predominantly white. They're not stupid to think it can be 100%, but they want the percentages to be less than 10%. So that's and they are now the main arguments between Tommy and with the ethno-nationalists. So we're trying to help them along with that, So the reason why they conflate the immigration, grooming gangs, and all of these different things is just to put it into a melting pot. It doesn't have to be the case that everyone's coming in to be Muslim. It just has to be the case that they say it. But there's a particular demographic and now we have to get into solutions, because we have to do something we'll try, inshallah ta'ala, do something. There is a particular type of white non-Muslim that listens to Tommy Robinson, because the middle class don't listen to him and the upper class don't listen to him. Educated people don't listen to him. So who listens to him? The working class, yeah. I mean, you can call them chavs, okay? But you have to understand about the chavs, okay? The white working class. Statistically speaking, white young men and boys do worse than any other ethnic group educationally in the country, from all education, from start to end, from nursery school to higher education. White indigenous working class boys do worse in education than any other ethnic group in their own country. You have to look at why. I believe they've always done badly. It's just now there's ethnic groups to compare to. Before we didn't have that ethnic different studies done and who does what. It's never done bad. The reason that they do badly is because they were never meant to be educated. White working class people have been groomed for hundreds of years to be uneducated workers, laborers. They only give us the education system. Does anyone know when the education system, schools come in? You in uni, bro, you should know. When did it come in? The first one, the school. Yeah, but the first one's coming in the Industrial Revolution. Why? Because they needed to take ignorant farmers and laborers and give them enough education to work for them. That was all it was. So the aspirations and the mindset of a white working class person never have seen education as a way out. They've seen jobs, work, apprenticeships, and all that as a way out. But now people from another continent, like maybe your grandparents or parents, for some of you, come over here and they worked hard and they open businesses, but they see education as a way out of the life that they've come from. So they wanted their kids to get educated. I live in a marsh farm in Luton, and my two next door neighbors, Khalid and Tariq, were born in Pakistan. They come here when they were very young, but nevertheless, they were born in Pakistan. One of them's a barrister, and one of them's an IT expert, and loads and loads of money, mashallah, okay? Their parents wanted them to be educated to get out. My dad wanted me to be a bricklayer. It's not my dad's fault, because his mentality was groomed to be in that way. Now they're looking 2 or 3 generations of thinking, how come you got a semi-detached house? How come you got a 4x4? How come he's opened 2 or 3 businesses? How come I'm still doing my job and these people have progressed 2nd, 3rd generation from immigrants, as you might like, and they're doing financially and businessly better and educationally better than everyone else? It's very easy for them to get angry about that, but they don't understand that they've been groomed mentally to be subservient to the class system that we have in this country, which is why you get doff your cap to the Lord of the Manor, yes sir, no sir, and all the rest of it.
Can I just say, when I actually went to not a private school, but a grammar school, where there was more emphasis on speech and words and theoretical things. There was not a lot of practical things. But I would say that actually a lot of the jobs, because a lot of the I would say the dominant industry here in London is the financial sector, which is based on riba. And I think it's better as a Muslim to go work on a building site than to work in an investment bank.
Okay.
I think.
Do you work on building sites? You do?
I'm trying to now, yeah. I've been doing warehouse work for the past 2 years.
Okay, so there's nothing.
I'm doing construction for the past 2 months.
There is nothing wrong with honest day's graft. Yeah. And not everyone can be a businessman. Not everyone can be educated. But my point is, what I'm trying to make is that white working class people for hundreds of years have been groomed to be submissive to the higher classes. And now they're seeing other people come over here from Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Africa, Nigeria, wherever they come from, 2 generations down the road doing well better than them. And they're looking at this thinking, how did this happen? Why am I? They don't understand that they've been groomed to be like that. In the height of the British Empire, when we had India, we had Australia, we had Africa, we had Canada and everywhere else, people in this country, white people, were still running around with no shoes on. They were still dying of diphtheria and typhoid. They were still going down coal mines and chimneys and things like this. So the elite have always kept the white working class submitted. They were very uneducated to a point, okay? To some sort of point, all right? So these are prime targets now for the likes of Tommy Robinson to blame everyone else. Do you understand the mindset?
You're right, that's how capitalism works. It relies on the people underneath.
Yeah.
Work, and run the factories, and all the labor, the people at the top.
Exactly. But they can't fool everyone all. So now people are fed up of that. So they need to blame someone. So who are they going to blame? The capitalists or the guys that look like you?
It's very easy to blame someone else.
And it's better to blame someone else for them. Rather than blame themselves, who are they going to blame? That's where the likes of Tommy and that come into play. Take the attention off of these people, put it onto this religion now, and it also plays into other hands when it comes to the expansion of this empire in the Middle East and everything else that's going on over there. I don't like to say the name. I don't like to say the name. So when you are talking to these white guys, you have to kind of keep in mind that, my dad wanted me to become a bricklayer, because that's in his mind and it is a good job. There's nothing wrong with it, okay? It's good honest work. They can earn really good money, but his mindset was to become a bricklayer, son, because he was a lorry driver. Next door's mindset was to become a barrister and then get into computers and IT. You can see the difference in that. These are the people that Tommy Robinson captures. These are his audience. These are the people that fall for it. And there's millions of them, by the way. Now, you have to understand, if you're going to give dawah to these people and you're going to propagate Islam to these people, inshallah, you're going to have to understand where their mindset is sitting at, why they think like that, why they're hostile. Because I believe they've been groomed to be like that. I believe they've been programmed, socially engineered to be like that. That's why they think like that. And anger is a very easy emotion to tap into, especially when people are jealous that you're doing better than them. And they go, well, how come these people are coming over here? They're getting into hotels, they get given mobile phones. It's not true, by the way, but that's what they're told. Given mobile phones, given this, given that, given everything else. It's very infuriating. So they have very emotional arguments and very emotional things. So, like I said, when we are going to give dawah and we are going to reach out to the non-Muslims, which we have to talk about solutions, you have to understand why these people feel and think the way they feel and the way they think. It's because years, and I can say from experience, from years of being told that my mum would say to me when I'd done the homework, when I was doing my homework at home, when I was at school many years ago, my mum would say, no one likes a smart ass. Yeah. Yeah. So what this is it took me years. No one likes a clever clogs. No one likes a smart ass. No, for doing your homework as a child. Because my mum was just projecting, because my mum left school at 14. She couldn't read and write properly. So she was just projecting her shock and the way she was cultivated onto her offspring. You don't become educated. You don't become smart. No one likes a smarty pants. Imagine saying that to one of your kids now. But I'm telling you, you'd never get away with it now. And nor would anyone here want to do that to their kids.
I think that has a point.
Yeah.
And I agree with that to an extent.
What?
Because what it is, I found this, if you overthink everything, you don't do anything. And if we have a society where all we do is think and all we do is talk, nothing gets done. So because if we compete to borrow and lend to employ people, then who's doing the work? Do you see what I'm trying to say?
There's nothing wrong with a day's work.
Yeah.
I've spent all of my life in the building trade.
I know, but
what I'm trying to make the point is a mindset of where white people have been put into that category. Yeah. And when you're in that category and someone else is doing very well, it's very easy to turn these people, divert the attention, turn these people. So that's really the point. I'm not having to dig at people that...
Another thing is AI now. AI has wiped out a lot of desk jobs, a lot of jobs that used to be data.
There is going to be a need for people to do physical work. It's the mentality that I'm trying to... Yeah, it's the mentality that I'm trying to think, okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, okay.
Yeah. So because it's like I've spent my whole life in the building trade, and I've only come out of it in the last 12 months or just over 12 months. So I know what it's all about. So let's look at some solutions, okay? Whose responsibility is it to deliver the truth? The people with the truth. Yeah. So everyone in here believes that Islam is the truth. Everyone here is assured. We all know that Islam is, even if we're not very good Muslims, we all know that Islam is the truth. We cannot expect these people to bring out the truth to us. So when was the last time that you went out and give dawah to them? When was the last time who give dawah to someone this week? Two people. You will find that reverts, 3. Are you the imam? One of the imams. So you should be giving dawah, but that's what you get. That's what you do. Okay. You'll find that reverts are heavily overrepresented in dawah. I don't know what percentage that reverts make up of Muslim community, but we make up most of the da'is, because reverts by default just go out and give dawah. I mean, I just don't know what it is. It's just something that reverts do. But we have to start reaching out. We cannot just expect these people to stay over there and us to stay over here, and we've got content creators over here making videos for our audience, and everyone's shouting, mashallah, brother, and you got their content people over there making content for their audience, and they're shouting, we want our country back, and the divide, the gap between us is getting wider and wider. It's just drifting apart, okay? So somebody has to build bridges between us and them, and we can't wait for them to do it. It's our responsibility, no? Okay, so which ways do we do it? Me personally, I believe the best way to give dawah is face-to-face. Never underestimate the power of a smile, and never underestimate the power of just being polite. Yeah? Most of these non-Muslims will not ask you complicated questions on fiqh and hadith and takfir, and they won't. They will ask you questions of what? What do you think questions you're going to get asked? No, what's the first questions they're going to ask you now? Sorry. Why? Oh yeah, why? Why did you become Muslim? So that leads you into the conversation of dawah. But what do you think is the main things that they go to now when they want to talk to you about Islam? So what would that be?
One of the biggest things a lot of people talk about is Aisha marrying the Prophet.
It's almost the first one. Why did your Prophet marry a child?
And do you agree with it?
Yeah, But before you even get to talk about Tawheed or get to talk about the beauty of the pillars of Islam and the pillars of Iman, you have to talk about this. What's the other ones? The killing of Jews. But going back to the Prophet ﷺ in the time where their tribe got killed, yeah? Yeah, that's one of them. Some of them are getting smart like that, yeah?
Maybe something a bit more modern, like asking questions about 9/11 and if you agree with these sort of ideologies and what happened.
Terrorism. If you're wrapping it up in terrorism, they will definitely ask you about. Grooming gangs is another one. These are issues that none of the people of the past had to talk about. None of the Sahaba had to talk about this. None of the scholars had to talk about this. And to be fair, most of the scholars in this country now are ill-equipped to talk about it. They don't have the social skills and the talk to be able to deal with these situations. I've been on dawah tables with people, and I said, mate, I'm a bit sure about this fellow. He might crack under a bit of pressure. And I'll do a little pressure test, like a little spar. It's frightening. I had one brother denying the religion after 60 seconds. Just denied it. He just said, no one should ever be executed ever for no reason at all. There you go. Imagine I was on the other side of the table arguing, and that was on social media. It's got to be very careful. So what they're going to talk about, the age of Aisha is probably number one on their ask the question list, not anything else about your religion. The other ones is going to be about grooming gangs. The other one is going to be about terrorism and these type of issues. So you've got to get over these things before you even talk about Islam. No one else in history has had to talk about grooming gangs. None of the classical scholars ever had to talk about the age of Aisha. None of them had to talk about terrorism. But these are things that now we have to equip ourselves with when we are talking to them, because it can be really stressful when you're confronted with someone that's aggressively asking you these questions. And you have to be really patient with it too. And you have to know the way to do it. You have to be, so if you're going to go out and give a dawah, you have to practice that with yourselves. Role play it with yourselves, you know what I'm saying? People that give dawah a lot, I don't know who watched the Liam Tufts interview? When I've done the pod, yeah. You see how he pressured me? No, he wasn't going to get off that point. I think we was on that point for over 10 minutes. Keep going back on it. He helped put his dad in prison for a long time. He's traumatized. He's carrying trauma. Yeah. 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 So these are the things, if you're going to go out and give dawah, you have to be prepped in these things. Because it's all well and good knowing about the Quran and mashallah, and it's all well and good. But if you don't know how to get over these initial arguments, then you're not going to get onto phase 2. You're going to be stuck on phase 1. And that's really, really annoying. So that's another one. So never underestimate the power of giving one-to-one dawah. Never underestimate the power of a smile. Never underestimate the power of good manners and good dab, because they are watching your character and everything else. Social media is another one, but I really don't advise it for most people. I would really advise Muslims to stay off of social media as influencers or people that run it. I'm only on it by accident, by the way. I didn't mean to get on it. I just got on it. It's like that Godfather thing, innit? As soon as you get out, they pull you back in. I didn't mean to get on it, but it's a dirty, messy place. It's a cruel mistress. It can make you do things that you wouldn't normally want to do, or say and get involved with things you normally want to do. And if you, the way that you can help with social media is to, if there are decent, because what we should be doing is signposting the non-Muslims towards the people of knowledge, not people like me. I'm a signpost. I know a little bit about Islam, but about that much, okay? But I'm relatable to white people because I look like them, obviously. I talk like them and walk like them. So I'm relatable to them. But really what I do is say, right, if the common sense version of me is interesting, then listen to the people of knowledge. But we've got to be signposting them to the right areas, okay? If you can't do that, then at least like and share the people that are of knowledge. Send it to your work colleagues. Send it to the people you're at college with or university with or places like that. Send them that video that explains it better than what you could. You know, share it like that, because we fight algorithms, you know, like our content fights. We're not, the platforms are not there for the Muslims, trust me. They're owned by the non-Muslims, okay? So don't favor our algorithms, okay? So these are just some of the ways that you can help is by helping the algorithms, equipping yourself with the right arguments or the right counter arguments to their is very annoying and very frustrating when you're on a Dowie table and someone comes up, and I'm only gonna say this for effect. I've done this before when I've done talks like this in slightly bigger masjids. Some of the youngsters come, so let's role play it. And when you put it on them and put a little bit of pressure, you'll be surprised just how quick you can lose your words. Just how quick. You're stuck. That's why the Liam Tufts was harder than Oxford Union, by the way. Yeah, because in the Oxford Union, I had people there. In Liam Tufts, I was stuck with him. You know, when you've got people there watching from your side, you can gauge what you're saying and you can sort of gauge. But there, I was just stuck with him, and I didn't know what was going on with him. But when someone says something like that, why did your prophet do that? And I'm not going to say what they say. You want to get aggressive, maybe. You want to punch him in the mouth, maybe. Understandably so. I do. As soon as you do that, you lose. Because then you become the aggressive Muslim that's an extremist that can't take any criticism, and you resort to violence. And look, if they're going to resort to violence over that one question, what they're going to do when they start taking over? Because the great replacement theory is another threat, that white people are becoming a minority in their own country. And you have to understand that's a legitimate concern for white people. White people will be looking at some areas, like I keep saying to Whitechapel because I go down there quite a lot, and Luton, and you can say, look, there's no white people here. That's worrying for people. Nobody wants to be replaced. If I went to Morocco, which I love the country actually, I've had 2 gyms there before in the past, and I said to the Moroccans, would you want to be a minority or replaced by Europeans in this country? Would you want French and English people to live here? What do you think they're going to say? No, it's normal, isn't it? You know, nobody wants to be outnumbered in their own country. What if Europeans started taking over big areas of Rabat and Casablanca and other places and started turning it into European type cities with pubs and bookies and haram butchers and all the rest of it that they would do? What do you think Moroccans are going to say? They want to they'll push you back. So you have to understand the mindset. When they're being told that they are going to be replaced, it does threaten them, and they do feel threatened by that. Why are they having less kids than you? Because they've been pre-programmed and they've been how would you say, socially engineered that having kids isn't a great idea. Have less kids, be secular, be liberal, self-worship, go on holiday, have a new car, do these things. Kids will hold you back. People from the Muslim community, and not just the Muslim community, but other communities, don't mind having kids. But even the birth rate for the fertile Muslim women is dropping now. And in 2030, it's due to drop down to non-replacement rate in this country. Why? Why? Because people want to go to college, then they want to go to university, then they can't afford a deposit on a house. Then it takes 2 people to run a house. The wife has to do a bit of work and the husband has to work. So for the same very reasons that white people have stopped having so many kids, because my mum and dad's generation, they would have 4 to 6 kids, standard procedure. Before that, the Irish would have 8, 9, 10 kids, Catholics, you know. Now, 1 or 2, 1.4 kids, the average fertile white non-Muslim woman has. The Muslim woman as a whole has, I think the statistics are at 2.4. Once you go down to 2.2, you're at the edge of replacement. You can't replace yourself. You're on decline now. You're going into an extinction. But that's due to happening in 2030. So, and you can see how the same social pressures that are affecting them eventually are affecting the Muslim community. You're starting to have less kids now, okay? Not only that, the things that are affecting this country, like the feminism for the sisters. They go into feminism, then they go into hadith rejection, and they leave their religion completely. All of these things, all of the ailments that affect the non-Muslim community eventually will start seeping in to the Muslim community. And you can see now that's having a negative effect on the sisters firstly, and then the brothers. Now we have Muslim gangs killing other Muslims with knives. It's a spillover from, it's not a Muslim problem, it's not a non-Muslim problem, but it's spilling over. In Luton, we just had a young Muslim lad, unfortunately stabbed by another young Muslim lad, and he died. For what? Because one of them come from one area and another one come from the other area, and they challenged him on Snapchat to come down to that area, and then one of them ended up dying over it. But the same ailments that affect this community will affect that community eventually. the same social ills, the same social problems. So some of the solutions, guys, is I believe the youngsters, and when I say youngsters, I mean anyone below 35, anyone above 40 is getting a bit old, but the youngsters below 30, you need to start networking with each other up and down the country. You need to start connecting with each other, at least on social media. You need to start cooperating with each other in good, in dawah, in what's good. Danny Tomo, anyone heard of him? He's going around the country organizing patriotic platoons. That means he's got groups of white men in different parts of the country that gather in their 20s and 30s numbers to do physical activities like fighting, you know, mock fighting, cross-country running, this type of thing, you know, keeping themselves fit. They're organizing, guys.
Big thing to on Edge Road. Yeah,
From who?
From it's far right because we have to obviously even though that police don't still get involved. I'm there every day.
Edgeware.
Yeah, every day I'm there. And there's it was planned to start at Edgeware Tube, a big march up Edgeware Road. Then the police now it's now going to take place at Hyde Park.
Okay. Well, the Hyde Park's actually got a bit of space there, haven't they? Okay, so like I said, the solutions is that you guys have got to get a lot more active in dawah, because if you're not telling them about Islam, then the enemies will be. So you have a big response. Anyone sub 35, the guys in their 40s and 50s, to be fair, in the Muslim community are pretty much out of the frame anyway. They're out of the game, unfortunately. A lot of them, not all of them, not all of them. I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about most of them are out of the game. So the sub 35, lower than 35-year-olds, the old uncles, they can go from their house to the mosque, from their mosque to their friend's house, from their friend's house back home. They don't have to go to work. They don't have to go to uni. They don't have to be in the world. They don't have to be sociable, and they can just keep themselves in their own little tiny bubbles. Most of you youngsters still have to go and get a job. Most of you youngsters have to open a business. Most of you youngsters still go to university. So you have to be in the world. So you have to be involved in this, and you have to be networking. There's some beautiful work going up in Liverpool, Dawah, in Manchester, London, Lewisham Masjid. I keep referencing Lewisham Masjid regularly. Imam Shakir and Lewisham Masjid. Anyone been there? Anyone aware of them? Thousands of reverts. Wallahi, thousands. Not hundreds, but thousands of reverts. And reverts bring in reverts. You can literally go in there and see a masjid full of white and black and brown people like equally. So it's beautiful to watch. And they're active. They're like, they're banging. Once they get moving, you know, the best motivator in life is progress. Once everyone else starts doing it, you start doing it, and they're really firing. But up in places like Luton is dead. It's a ghost town for dawah. I don't know what Hitchin's like generally. But some of these places, you need to start networking with them. And the youngsters need to start learning how to give dawah. And if that means doing workshops before you go out and practicing with each other, like one being hostile, one, you know, like play the roles, then do that. Because you don't want to be put on the spot and just stand there looking at them thinking, I don't know what to say, mate. In fact, I'm either going to fight you or start crying. You know what I mean? Because it's really frustrating. They can put you on the spot. So you youngsters, I believe, need to go back to basics and start giving dawah. One-to-one, good manners, good adab, smile at them, be a good person, be good in the community, help the non-Muslims, reach out to the non-Muslims. If you don't do this, guys, then the gap between us is going to get bigger. And I promise you, it's only going to work out worse for us, because I know a lot of guys. I don't know anyone with an aircraft carrier or a tank or a fighter jet. We ain't going to win this, okay? If this goes wonky and it goes west, we ain't winning. You know, it's not in our favor, put it that way. So we have a responsibility to go out there and give this dawah and reach out to these people, invite them. We have open days in masjids, don't we, for non-Muslims? Do you have one here? Right. You should have an open every day for non-Muslims. You got church coming in September. 28. Coming here. All at once. Okay. So that's an interfaith dialogue. Okay, that's great. More of that. You know, and you need to be involved in, there's a big masjid being built in Watford. I just went down, it's still, but what they're doing is a coffee shop, a men and a women's gym, and all this, and it's all going to be open to non-Muslims. So the community can come in there and have a coffee with you, come in there and train with you. The women can train. They've got a creche or like a daycare center. It's not just for Muslims. Non-Muslims can bring their kids there too. This is where we need to be. I know this is a small masjid, so you've got a limited amount of space and resources to do that sort of thing. But definitely go out. Do you put a dawah table out in the town center? You do. Once a month, yeah. It's hard to get people to do it though, yeah? Yeah. You're out there on your own, the same 2 or 3 brothers every week, or every time you go out, yeah? Yeah, that's embarrassing on the rest of you guys. You shouldn't leave it up to the same people to do the same work all the time. You're just as responsible as everybody else. Like I said, and things are not going to get any easier in this country in the next 5 or 10 years. I can promise you, I can see how it's turning. I can feel how the white people are being turned and how their attitude is being turned. There's a precedent for this. If you look at the European history, every 80 years, we have a war. We've killed more white people as white people than we've killed anyone else. Hundreds of millions of our own we've killed in wars. 60 million died in the Second World War. Most of them were white. Killed by other white people. We don't mind killing a few of you lot. Trust me, they won't care when it kicks off. This is historically, we are very warlike. So we don't want it to go down that road. We want to try and do our best to stop it. And the only way we're going to do that, or limit it, I don't think we can stop it. I think there's too much money and energy that's been put into it to stop it completely. And Allah knows best. But I think limiting it is what we can try and do. Or limit damage, controlling is what we're going to try and do. I don't know if you want to take a few questions now or after. Okay, so if anyone, we'll just have a free fall now, bro. So if anyone's got something to say.
You said a really valid point about brothers arguing
Yeah.
amongst themselves.
Yeah.
And I've seen this at Speaker's Corner.
Yeah.
Not that I go there, but we're working down the ramp through another station. What it does, it gives the non-Muslims, when we got brothers arguing, you see it all over social media, they're arguing for really aggressive hostile. It gives non-believers and non-Muslims ammunition. Look, they can't get on with each other, so how are they going to get on?
And it's valid to see, this is the danger of social media. You can get great content from dawah. But when you make dawah for content, dawah becomes a problem. Because back in the old days in Speaker's Corner, when Abdul Rahim Green and that brothers were down there was no cameras. So the dawah was pure, in a sense that there was no, if you weren't there, you didn't see it. Okay, so there was no performative dawah. Now it's performative dawah. So if I can get into an argument with you as another Muslim and we end up going at each other, it's the views that we're worried about. If I can have an argument with a Christian, not that you are, but it's the views. So the intention is what gets twisted when everybody makes a video to get attention. Otherwise you wouldn't make a video, would you? What's the point of making a video if you don't want anyone to watch it, okay? But it's the intention behind the attention that you've got to be careful about. And believe me, it's really difficult to keep your intention on track when you're making anything on social media. So when they go to Speaker's Corner, what you get is they'll argue with anyone, because arguments, what? Yeah, it's the sake of arguments do what? Get likes, they get attention. It doesn't matter if it's with a Muslim or a non-Muslim. But I used to go social. I don't go to Speaker's Corner now because it's just where people go. Christians and Muslims go to shout at each other. Same people. None of them are sincere. They've had the same arguments for 10 years with each other, and none of them have changed their position. So I see it as a bit of a waste. It's just a circus. EF Dowie used to be quite good down there, but they were too calm. They didn't get the views because they were like sensible. Even Ali Dawah don't go there now. And he's all about that.
They do it at Leicester Square.
Yeah, he does it at Leicester Square, yeah. But honestly, that's why I said I advise a lot of young brothers and definitely young sisters, stay off of social media, because it can be a horrible place to, the death threats and everything else. Once you get into it, it's not great. So any other? I'll tell you.
I don't know if you've seen this video on social media. It's a mindset. So there's a lecturer giving a lecture to law students. So before he starts the lecture, there's one student who tells to get out of the classroom.
Yes.
He leaves the classroom and no one speaks up, everyone's quiet. So once he's left, he asks the rest of them, what do you think happened then? And they were like, you told us to leave the room. So they just looked at what he had actually done. And he turned around and said, no, injustice was done and no one spoke.
Yeah.
And I think in this day and age, I don't know what would cause your mindset to change is that no one wants to deal with everything until it comes to their doorstep. So if it's not your problem, personally, forget about that from a religious aspect or humanitarian aspect. I'm talking about as in a person. If it's not your personal issue, don't worry about it.
Do you know why?
That's the mind.
Because most men now are just followers. Don't want to get involved. They'll walk past. They do these social experiments all the time when you see a woman trying to get the attention of a stranger, because she's being, doing that, which is a sort of supposed to be a sign that he's, that's exactly that. And most people are just willfully ignoring it. That's just because we're not men like we used to be. I'm 56, so I'm probably the oldest one here. Yeah? No, you're not 56, are you, bro? Okay, you're not fooling anyone, bro. Alhamdulillah. So at 56 years old, when I was young, a fight was normal. People now, I'm not saying that any people should fight. Fighting is ridiculous and stupid. But people used to solve their problems like that. We didn't have the entitlement that people have now. People now, young men now, can't take any type of a knockback. They can't take any type of a failure. They can't take any type of a loss. They think they're entitled to everything. So when you tell them your life is where it is, because you're not the man that your grandparents used to be, and they can't handle that, So these people, these experiments, I think what is it saying? In order for evil to prevail, good men have to do nothing. That's something like that. Yeah,
I relate to that a lot. Throughout my life, I've been encouraged to do nothing. I try very hard to do things and be active and be productive, and I'm encouraged to basically do nothing. I just pray because I just want to be useful.
I'm sure you'll be useful, bro. Don't worry. Yeah.
What would you say?
Right. Firstly, the youngsters have been let down by the elders. The elders haven't spent enough time with their young boys to grow them into men. So what's grew them? What's filled the void?
Friends amongst life.
Where there's a void in nature, it has to be filled. If you're as a father not going to take your son football, or take your son boxing, or take your son jiu-jitsu, or take him out and do a hike with him, or take him camping, or do something masculine with him, his phone will do it for you. And he'll just want gratification. That's why they scroll. That's why people scroll, for instant gratification. They don't want to put the effort in anymore. So our youngsters are where they are because the elders have let them down.
This is a verse in the Quran that says, قل يا أيها الكافرون لا أعبد ما تعبدون لا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد ولا أنا عابد ما عبدتم لكم دينكم ولي دين الكافرون. Based on this verse, لكم دينكم ولي دين, we have our religion, they have their religion. When you go back to the speaker's corners like this Muhammad Hijab and Ali Dawah trying to convert people to Islam, does our religion require us as Muslims to convert people to Islam? Or does it? Because I'm not sure. I think we are required to help each other, be nice, be good to everyone, but primarily to help our community.
So, both. Our religion, we're required to invite people to Islam, and also be good with each other.
But are we required to convert people?
No, we're required to invite people. It's a lot that changes you. It's a lot of, But the invitation, the dawah, is on us. But how else are they going to know?
Invitation.
We invite them in the best of ways, with kind words, with good adab, with good manners, education, nicely. So we invite them to Islam, but are we doing that? For the most part, we don't. But not saying you don't, bro. But for the most part, I'm talking of the whole community. You can probably count on social media 20. We've got 6.5 million. Do you know what I mean? We've got 20 people out there. And I know that every town, even this, has got people of knowledge. Of some knowledge. Like they have Hafiz of Quran. They have. So we're not doing a good job of. Are we near time? Yeah. Yeah, sure. Bismillah.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
So there is, in Luton, we have some of the youth groups now are starting to do, So in Luton now, we have a lot of the youth groups now, the Muslim youth groups, Al Muflihun is one. They're starting to do a lot of activities in the community, so maybe network with them. You're only up the road, inshallah, so them sort of things. Did you have a question? Just look like, go on, bro. You just made of them today, aren't you? Alhamdulillah.
So, give me an example. My family's been living in Letchworth since the 60s.
Letchworth.
My family moved from Kashmir, so most people live in the same.
Yeah.
So my grandparents, grandfather, both sides, mum and dad, so I thought it was one.
Right.
So my question is, if these people will not accept people that have fought for their country, not coming from a different dynamic from a different country, what's going to make them accept us today?
Maybe they won't, all of them. Like I said, I don't think we can stop this. Let's be honest. Let's have expectations managed. Okay, we're not going to turn this into a utopia where everyone gets along, like in some perfect way. But a lot of them you can get. A lot of them just don't know. Imagine taking your religion off Tommy Robinson. That means you don't know, isn't it? He's ignorant as anything. I don't even think he can say alif ba ta. Okay. So he's jahil in the extreme, which is one of the things at Oxford Julian. I said, man, you're not an authority on this thing, and you speak like you are, because all you need to do is be confident when for people to believe you. So I don't think you're right. I think you're right. A lot of them won't, but there's tens of millions that might at least be. You know how many messages I get off of non-Muslims? I'm assuming they're men. I'm hoping so. And they're saying, mate, I'm not Muslim. I'm not going to become Muslim. But the way that you've said that, or the way that you do that, or that video, or whatever it might have been, has made me think differently about your religion. But I'm not a Muslim. It's a win, yeah? Because at least they don't hate you as much. You know what I mean? Maybe they won't all become Muslim. Allah knows best. But at least they lower that. You can lower the ignorance and the hate down. Because
My opinion, that's why
you're not as relevant. You're not as relatable. Sorry, you're not as relatable. No, of course, but it doesn't mean to say that it's all on us. You know what I mean? Okay, so we've got 1 more minute, so you have to be a yes or a no. In that level, yeah. So we can do that.
I think it's down to confidence. And as a white Englishman, I had it in discussion at work. 7 young people I used to make a great comparison of what the police would think which grand children. And they would pray and I would pick on the prayer. To me, it's a white Englishman, I don't care. But I get it, every young thing with his brother, recognize himself, please. They're embarrassed.
Yeah. the more reverts you have, the easier it will get. Because white people would like to make it comfortable for themselves. We were rocked up in India and we thought, yeah, we'll have it. You know what I mean? So,
Just going back to the point that you mentioned, you said you act like a disciple, and you want to act as a person that shows people to other knowledgeable people.
yes.
If we are acting on social media and giving these out, would you suggest that we send people to learn more about?
On social media, you're limited on that. But send them to the ones that are safe.
That's what I mean. Like,
Yeah, send. Well, I mean, look, I mean, I don't want to give you the ones that I would send them to necessarily. There's Sheikh Bilal Assad. He's easy. He's not going to say anything crazy. Okay. So people like Sheikh Bilal Assad, I've met him. I've have dinner with him. He's a lovely brother. But you can sort of see with these guys, they're kind of relatable. They speak in a common terminology, and it's easy for them to. They don't need scholars, because they're not going to go into deep religion. But I think people like Sheikh Bilal Assad, and there's a few others. What's that? He's a bit loud. He's all right for some people. And there's another one. I'm not so keen on him, but yeah, Mufti Menk will be okay. The other one, he's darker skin, but he normally wears like what looks like a hijab sort of thing. No. Anyway, it's Tamir.
Ibn Taymiyyah. Oh, the Somalian brother.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say it.
Yeah. Check Abu Tamir. Yeah. It's Abu Tamir. But these are easy people to listen in. Sure.
Brothers and sisters, we have pizza coming, so inshallah stay around for that, inshallah, after Salat al-Isha.
We have 5 minutes left, please. You can do the sunnah. Jazakumullah.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. ونعمة كانوا فيها فاكهين كذلك وأورثناها قوما آخرين فما بكت عليهم السماء والأرض وما كانوا منظرين. ولقد نجينا بني إسرائيل من العذاب المهين من فرعون إنه كان عاليا من المسرفين. ولقد اخترناهم على علم على العالمين وآتيناهم من الآيات ما فيه بلاء مبين. إن هؤلاء ليقولون إن هي إلا موتتنا الأولى وما نحن بمنشرين. فأتوا بآبائنا إن كنتم صادقين. أهم خير أم قوم تبع والذين من قبلهم أهلكناهم إنهم كانوا مجرمين. وما خلقنا السماوات والأرض وما بينهما لاعبين ما خلقناهما إلا بالحق ولكن أكثرهم لا يعلمون. إن يوم الفصل ميقاتهم أجمعين يوم لا يغني مولى عن مولى شيئا ولا هم ينصرون إلا من رحم الله إنه هو العزيز الرحيم. إن شجرة الزقوم طعام الأثيم كالمهل يغلي في البطون كغلي الحميم. خذوه فاعتلوه إلى سواء الجحيم ثم صبوا فوق رأسه من عذاب الحميم. الله سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. ذق إنك أنت العزيز الكريم. إن هذا ما كنتم به تمترون. إن المتقين في مقام أمين في جنات وعيون يلبسون من سندس واستبرق متقابلين كذلك وزوجناهم بحور عين يدعون فيها بكل فاكهة آمنين لا يذوقون فيها الموت إلا الموتة الأولى ووقاهم عذاب الجحيم فضلا من ربك ذلك هو الفوز العظيم. فإنما يسرناه بلسانك لعلهم يتذكرون فارتقب إنهم مرتقبون. الله سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الله الذي يشفع ولا يحيطون بشيء. Dear brothers and elders, this gentle reminder as we enter this blessed night, the night of Jum'ah. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the best prayer in the sight of Allah is Fajr on Friday, performed in congregation. So we all kindly remind ourselves and all our brothers to make a firm intention to come to the Fajr Salah tomorrow in the masjid. And let us begin this blessed day with sincerity, with the presence of heart and with the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us tawfiq to come to the Fajr Salah tomorrow in the masjid and gain His great reward, inshallah. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, rabbil alameen, wal aqibatu lil muttaqeen, was salatu was salamu ala sayyidina. ربنا هب لنا من ازواجنا وذرياتنا قرة اعين واجعلنا للمتقين اماما بإني لما انزلت الي من خير فقير. ربي اوزعني ان اشكر نعمتك التي انعمت علي وعلى والدي وان اعمل صالحا ترضاه وادخلني برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين. الله خير حافظا وهو ارحم الراحمين. اللهم اعنا على ذكرك وشكرك وحسنك. اللهم انك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا يا كريم. وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وعلى اله واصحابه اجمعين. امين.